Welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Mill. We are going to talk about how to make a woman squirt. Squirting is a form of ejaculation where a whitish or clear fluid is released from the vulva during sexual orgasm. There is some debate about what squirt is and where exactly this fluid really comes from, as well as if all women can squirt. It's generally or officially believed to be fluid released from the Skene's glands, a set of glands located near the urethral sponge, when the surrounding erectile tissue is stimulated. Some people confuse squirting with pee, and feeling like she is going to pee makes a lot of women feel inconvenience. Not only is comfort vital to make a girl squirt, but if she thinks she might pee, your partner might tense her muscles and activity prevent herself from squirting. Unlike peeing, squirting is an involuntary reaction to G-spot stimulation. So, you've got to rub her G-spot if you want to make a girl come. Squirting is often, but not always, a result of G-spot orgasm. Squirting and pee are similar in that the fluid is ejected from the same place, her urethra. She'll squirt a small amount of prostatic fluid, sometimes small enough that you won't notice a difference between squirting and her natural arousal. For some women, the amount of liquid is much larger, and it includes liquid saved in the bladder. Her G-spot is going to be the most vital part of her vagina when learning to make your girlfriend or wife squirt. Locating it is the first step to master how to make her squirt. So to find it with your fingers, you will insert one lubed finger inside her vagina and slide the pad of your finger, where your fingerprint is, along the upper wall. Her G-spot will be between 2 to 3 inches deep inside. You'll know that you have found her G-spot because it will feel similar to a wet raspberry or bunch of grapes to the touch. Soft. It's slightly rib-textured with gutters on either side. The G-spot is easier to find when she is aroused or horny. Just like your penis only gets hard when you're horny, her G-spot will remain hidden until she is aroused and horny. The Skene's glands are present in the G-spot area, which is sometimes called the female prostate as it corresponds to the female equivalent of the prostate. Some simply call the Skene's glands, the same as her G-spot. Her Skene's gland isn't in her vagina. It's located in the front portion of the vaginal wall around the lower end of the urethra. Keep in mind that if you try to make her squirt without warming her up first, without lots of foreplay, then her Skene's gland isn't going to have time to swell up and fill with fluid, and she is going to struggle to squirt. To be clear, therefore, if you want to stimulate her Skene's gland, then you will need to stimulate her G-spot, and I'm going to show you a bunch of techniques to do this. As a result, this entire tutorial will focus on stimulating her G-spot. Her G-spot and Skene's gland are the most viral parts of her anatomy that you need to focus on when figuring out how to make her experience female ejaculation. While I will cover how you can incorporate other techniques to make her squirt, stimulating her G-spot Skene's gland will form the foundation of everything you should be doing. Everyone thinks that to make her squirt, you need to perfect your fingering technique. They think that if she's not squirting, it's because they are not rubbing, not massaging, or not pressing the correct way. Often, this is not the reason she isn't squirting. The most common reason that women or your girlfriend can't squirt is that you have not properly released the brakes that are holding back her sex drive or you have not intensified the accelerators to her sex drive that will make her crazy horny, aroused, and ready to squirt. While you can learn more about releasing these brakes to her sex drive in the guide to turning her on and intensifying her accelerators in the guide to making her horny, here's a quick refresher. There are certain things that inhibit a woman's ability to let go and get turned on. These include things like stress, anxiety, depression, exhaustion, certain medications, bad past experiences, fears about pregnancy and STI, etc. If your wife or girlfriend is experiencing any of these issues, then she is going to obviously find it hard to fully relax, let go, and squirt. But if you follow my advice in the guide to turning her on, you will be able to remove these brakes to her sex drive. Once you have removed these brakes, then the only other problem that may prevent her from squirting is that you may not have used any accelerators to her sex drive to make her aroused and horny. These are the things that make your wife or girlfriend horny and desperate for sex. They include things like her feeling desired and wanted, being with a guy she finds attractive, experiencing intense sexual tension, the right type of physical foreplay, etc. I cover the steps on how to intensify the accelerators to her sex drive in the guide to make her horny. This guide will give an in-depth explanation and instructions on what you can do to make her crazy horny for you. Once you can reliably turn her on and have removed the brakes while increasing the accelerators, making her squirt comes down to using the right technique, which is surprisingly simple. This goes without saying, but the last thing you want to do is put a sharp object that might nick or cut her vagina. So make sure to trim and file your fingernails. Trimming them is not enough. You must make sure they are filed down too, so there aren't any sharp edges that might hurt her. Similarly, make sure the skin on your hands isn't rough and jagged. You can also exfoliate and use lotion, so your hands will be baby smooth. You'll start by inserting your middle finger into her vagina, making sure it's wet and lubed so it goes in smoothly. Ideally, she should be wet enough that you can coat your finger with her natural wetness before penetrating her. If not, try licking your finger. The last option is to use lube. As you insert your finger, you need to be brushing the pad of your finger, that's the area with your fingerprint, against the top of the vaginal wall, like in the illustration above. Gently stroke the area with your middle finger and see how she responds. After doing this for up to a minute, slowly pull out your middle finger. You're now going to insert both your middle and ring fingers together. To make sure they both slide in pleasurably, you'll need to coat your ring finger with her natural wetness as well, or use salvia or lube. As you slide your index and middle fingers inside her, it should look like the illustration above, with your fingers curled slightly around her pubic bone, so they are providing pressure to her G-spot area. If this is your first time trying to make your girl squirt, it's a good idea to do a little exploring with your fingertips, extend them to reach a little deeper, and then curl them back up to bring them to a shallower point in her vagina. When doing this, make sure to run your fingertips along the top wall of her vaginal canal. As you do so, you'll be able to feel different textures and surfaces, helping you to find exactly where her G-spot is. Remember, it feels similar to a wet raspberry. Now it's time to stimulate her G-spot and make her squirt. Here is a bunch of different techniques. Try them all, and then focus your efforts on the ones that work best for you and your girlfriend or wife. You'll perform the push-the-button techniques by repeatedly pressing her G-spot with your finger like you would press a button, up and down. Experiment and vary how much pressure you apply and the speed at which you do it. Lightly pressing can be enough for some women, while others need intense pressure. This pressing can be pleasurable, but not be enough to push her over the edge and squirt. Rubbing her G-spot in a circular motion while maintaining lots of pressure on your fingertip is another option. Again, for some women, this is enough to make them squirt, but for others, it merely feels nice and is not enough to make them explode.